So hi, old age has been very closely, somehow, not so strangely maybe, but it's still weird, that is associated with grey hair. And as though grey hair or white hair and old age are linked. And as a grey hair means old age. I beg to differ. I am actually pretty proud about my greys. I actually have some silvers in them. And it's taken a few years for me to get some of my silvers. Pretty proud of them. I call them my feathers. And I kind of earned them. Well, let me just be very succinct. You get grey hair either as you age, but I started noticing my grey hair pretty 30 something, and that came about during a stressful period. And I was going through a particular kind of stress where things got kind of disoriented. I had to sort of figure out which is which, who are relatives, who are friends, who are how am I related with everything. So a kind of a soul searching time. Yes, a lot of my illusions got disillusioned, and then I had to figure out which is which. So it was a tumultuous time, but a good time in the sense that I could kind of sort of begin to figure out, sort out what I have, what I don't have. So there was a stress of all of that. It's more like, like when you're shifting house from one place to another, you go through a certain kind of a stress. So I was going through a kind of a different kind of a house shift, in the sense that I was having a house shift in terms of what I mean as reality. So there are different kinds of house shifts. So you can go through a psychological, spiritual, intellectual house shift, or you can go through a real, you're shifting places from one place to another. So all of that involves certain, putting things together, packing it up, and then making, shifting to another place and making sense of it all, and then rearranging it. So all of that. And in that stress, what was more black hair, or slightly red tinged, started becoming quite grey. And that in particular places, mostly in the temple regions, and then towards top, some areas. And these are very particular places. Okay, if you notice, the senior citizens, not everybody grays similarly, and some of their hair is, some are lightly kind of yellowish, some are peppery kind of thing, a slight grey, and some are really silvery grey, silver, some are like really white kind of thing. So there are different shades of grey, and each of the colors respond, well, you could call it genetic. I don't know if you can call it genetic, but I think I call it tempering. You hot iron, when it goes through different stages of heat and it goes through different stages of processing, it becomes different kinds of iron. Similarly, gold, when you process gold differently, you get different grades of gold. And I think the grey hair is like different grades of gold. So depending on what kind of experience we've had, what are these, are like your feathers. Have you heard of this adage? People travel and then they bring about mementos, or there may be people from military background, and they have these medals and things to show off as their colors. I think these are all different feathers that he doesn't mind. I'm pretty proud of mine, because they represent specific phases of my life, from which I keep deriving lessons from, I keep deriving value from. So, and when somebody looks at me like, you're supposed to color your hair we're supposed to look like everybody is young. I kind of a little insulted. But I also understand that a lot of people don't have a similar understanding about what aging is, about what gray hair is, and about what is what's a pride in it. What's a pride in experience is sometimes covered up under different kinds of clothing or different kinds of coloring. I mean, e- different people choose differently. But I like to show off my feathers, and I like to color them or not, or wear my hair according to the flavor of the season. I, Sometimes I feel I'd like to show off more colors, and then I do something. And so, a hairdress, this is the skin. This is a dress of the hair, of the head. I think we need to have a certain pride and permission, and also the wherewithal to make a choice on how we would like to wear our head and how we'd like to carry our countenance, and particularly what's on top of our head. So I'll leave us with this thought. Do leave your comments on what you think about this. If this brings about a certain perspective about people with grey hair, or about your own grey hair, or on or about the general view, perspective of how people associate old age, grey hair, and experience, and their relationship with either or all of these three, and how that shapes our world, and how that also shapes our idea of what wisdom is, of what experience is, and what is worthy of passing down to the next generation. And and sometimes a lot of that, of the wisdom and experience, may not be passed down because they think, oh, it is our stuff, it is just something that happened in this generation. And maybe there are some very precious gifts which only the experienced can have any say about what it is, because the less experienced may not know anything about it because they have not had it. Thank you for listening.